Alright, this is going to be a quick video for a couple questions that came in from the Zoom. I think there's 3 questions from the Zoom and then 1 question from YouTube. I haven't forgot about YouTube. I'm working on the way to try to get you guys to be able to access the Zoom sometimes. Try to work that out on there. If you guys have questions about the updates for the group chat, right now we're still working on getting everybody location wise to try to figure out how many people are in that location, and then start to work on pushing whatever project that's going on in that area so we can support each other. We will be, or should I say, I will be still constructing. I don't like to use words that are already out there, but I mean, it would be a conference, but it would be on short animated features locally, and within like a movie theme. With the technology now, you can pretty much kind of host your feature but have it on a big screen just like in the movies. So I will be working on that. If you guys are looking for investors, there is a sheet that we I don't know if that's still relevant. There's a lot of things going on in California, so a lot of that has kind of, I wouldn't say stopped or anything like that, but a lot of stuff is put on hold based on that. So I do understand if you guys are still trying to find locations, funding for your project, especially if it's a small one. Those are probably going to be the best bet. For the question about so when you're trying to put together a series and send it out, there's certain things that I can show, and then there's certain things I can't show. A lot of the animation, there's a thin line with that because I'm trying to find investors for the projects, and when you do that or you have meetings with them, they don't want anything that they may potentially sign on with to be out there, because if it's out there, it's not really it's owned, but it's not owned. A lot of times when you're sending in you're either a short or trying to get funding, they want it has to be exclusive to them. So a lot of times, even when you're having meetings, there's things that you sign there, or let me put it this way, if you don't sign anything, you really don't have to worry about anything. Your protection as far as you going and meeting with these, most of the time these companies are on the up and up. Do people steal ideas? Yes and no, but most of the bigger companies, they're not going to do that. They have no reason to. They're well, I take that back, because I have heard other artists tell me things, but I try to always go positive than negative, right? Not assuming that everybody's going to do the wrong thing. But there's certain things I can show, and there's certain things that I can't show. So when people are asking me, especially on the YouTube, when you guys are sending me those emails about um, you're seeing me work on the project, but you're not really seeing a lot of elements of what actually the story is, or the character, things like that. There's certain things that I can um, put out there because you're not going to understand what I'm showing you anyway, because it doesn't pertain to anything except for my story. So, but I understand your frustration when you're looking, when you're saying like, why am I not seeing the animations? You may be just especially on YouTube, you're just seeing me kind of building things and kind of showing, how I work, and a lot of it is going to be, mm, a lot of it may not make sense. I'll just say it like that. So it may be confusing to you, but there's a reason why I do it that way. So first question, when I am drawing faces or eyes, and you're talking about, they were asking me about a tilt. When I have the character looking at something, when you're transforming your the character from a straight ahead look, you don't really have to do anything to the eyeball. It can look like that, it's fine. So if I wanted to change this where it's kind of looking at an angle, and got a lot of stuff open, I know. Yup. Well, I'll keep them open because I gotta work on some other stuff. It'll just take a second. So what I do there is, just the only thing you're doing, especially if you're using Inkscape for your modifications, you're just gonna tilt it. It's gonna look like it's you wanted to give the visual effect. That's all you'll do. It's not anything major, right? So if this is straight ahead, or your character's looking straight into the camera, this would be this angle here, right? So that's all I do is changing the angles. And if you want to make this pop out a little bit more, you can just this right here, what I call like the film, you could just modify that as well. Because technically, if we're looking at it from this angle, right, the part that's going to be darker is going to be on the other side, right? So, sorry, I got a lot of stuff open that I have to keep open. Slow me down a little bit. So, if we're looking at this as the lens, right, and the character's looking like at this angle, this part here, let me see if I can do that better. Alright, so this part here will be lighter, right, than the object ungroup. All right, there we go. All right, so if we're looking at it from like an angle, right, like so, So this part here, that's what you would move around to give it that the look that you're looking for. Everything over here will be a lot darker, and you can modify the color if you like. But so technically everything on this side, if we're looking at an angle, right, so just this side would be a lot darker, and then you can move this little this little reflector as well, so that it's not just straight ahead anymore, it's at an angle as well. So if we have this here, you can use a shadow to make it darker, but that would be the only adjustment. So you see this, like this looks like it's starting to do a curve, and it looks weird because this right here, or this outline, is not matching up with this that curve that's right here. So that's where the adjustment would be. In some cases, if you have the outline, you remove the outline, like so. Everything else you want it still being in at that angle, right? So if we remove the outline and have everything facing to the side, even our little guy here, let's put it on top. And you're just doing a slight, adjustment, not too crazy, right? So if this is looking straight ahead, you would maneuver this in the way, and you could shade it or make other changes to it. So it'll just give the illusion that it's technically it's at an angle, but all it is kind of turned like so. And the adjustments, when you make those, you just want to make sure that it doesn't look flat in this area, right? If you look at this, the illusion, everything that we see here is flat, but the illusion is that since it's at an angle, it looks like it's not just a 2D visual right there. What was the other question here? So that's the question there. You modify those as you like. What was the other one? Oh, the other one. So like the smart bones or bone action, right? So if I have a character here, and let's go to this character face, right? What you'll do first is you're going to create another bone and make sure it's not attached to anything. So isolate it isolate it from everything else, right? Single. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because we're gonna start from scratch. Cut. Alright, so make sure none of the no bones are selected at all. Alright, then yep, we're in the beginning. Then we'll add a new bone here, just like so, and you can name this new face turn, like so, like so. And the next thing here, the next one here, we're going to turn down the strength of the bone. So we've got it selected already. Go here to bone strength, and we'll reduce that all the way down to 0, like so. And we already have the action window open, but technically what would happen is once you have the bone here, you go to Windows and then you'll go to Actions, right? And then we want to create a new action. So this bone selected already, and well, new action. So new action comes up. It should be the same name as what we labeled it, new face turn, like that. And you'll just click OK. And then this should turn blue if you do it correctly. So once you hit OK, that should turn blue like that. Alright. So now that that is blue, next thing here, we're gonna go ahead and move this all the way to frame 3 here, like that. So once we have that set, we're just going to, since we're on at frame 3, we're going to just take this here and going to bring it down like so. And now what we can do is we can start manipulating the character faces here. So first, let's go ahead and I'm going to erase some of this so you can see what I'm doing here. We don't need the hair. And we don't really need that. Trying to make it look a little bit more plain. Alright, that's a little bit plain. So what we do is we start going in and making some adjustments. So we're going to adjust this outline here. So we'll just move it to the right. Actually, let's start with this one here. And we're going to move this over like so. Kind of like that. We're going to move this one over like so. go ahead and move these together. Anytime you want to move more than one thing at a time, you click shift. So we need to get this one here, that one there, and that one. So and you know what? Scratch that. We're gonna do this a little different here. And we'll just move them one by one. Alright, so we're gonna move this here. And we'll move this one as well. And let's move the nose. And move the eyeball over here. That one as well. Alright, so I think that's enough kind of playing around with everything. So if this is done correctly, you should see the bone move a little bit here. And like so. Just like that. Alright, so then what we're going to do here is once we got that the way we like it, we're just going to I double click just right here where it says main line. You can just double click on that and that should turn gray at the bottom, back to normal, which it did. So now when we go to move this bone here, we should have that same effect, like that. So, and that's basically it, how you do the action. And you could use this as a head turn. But you would technically do that with all your pieces of your character. So, you know, you would basically be moving everything over. Now, once you do have that action created, you don't have to create it again. It'll save in your. You can export that as well. They have different ways like to make adjustments and stuff like that. But that's basically it. Everything that you want to move, you'll be able to have the action. And this doesn't mess up anything as far as once you have the action, you could do other modifications, right? So if I wanted to play around with this a little bit. So if I have this action already set up, right? And I want to play around with these bones a little bit. If I make this side smaller, oh, I didn't want to do that. let me fix this real quick because I think I know what. So what I'm going to do here is, I don't like all of these things looking like a rubber band. I want to just keep them kind of in the same state. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the socket and double click, and I go to image, and I'm going to unclick this where it says warp using bones. Alright, and I should fix all that rubber stuff going on. So let me go back here. Alright, yeah, because it's not, so it's not going to be. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to do that with all the pieces. Alright, so let's go back here. I'm going to go, since we got the socket, we did the left one correct, we did this one already. We'll open this up and unclick warp using bones. Same thing with the eyeballs. Just uncheck that. Do that for the other one as well. Like so. And technically I'm going to be doing that with these, the white background for the eye as well. And also like this, the shroud for the eyes, I'm going to do that as well for those. I don't even know if that's shroud. It is a shroud or shading for the eye, I guess you could say. And that should get rid of all that rubber stuff that was going on before. So what I was trying to show here is that we do have the action created. So when we start going in, we can see, play around with the bones here. Like so. Why is that still doing that? Did I not? What the hell? Okay, that happened. Oh, okay. I think I know what happened. I didn't put apply. Let's make sure I did these. Yeah, you gotta click apply. I think that's what I forgot to do. Yep. Yeah, okay. There, that's what it was. Let me go ahead and do this again. That one's good. And apply. Yep, apply. And then the shrouds, I do believe we left on. Yep, that one's okay. Let's track this one. Oh, that one's alright. Now let's see. Should fix that right there. Okay. So even if we do have the action already set up, we can go ahead and individually move these as well. So make sure they're all kind of tuck around each other. Alright, so there we go, like that. Okay, and if you check this action here, go back to bones. You see that the difference between the ones that we added to the action and then the ones we move manually, right? The other one's not going to move into the timeline. Kind of moves. So those are two separate. If you look at it, it looks like it's joined, but it's not. Because when we did the movement for here, when we set up that action, we didn't add the white part. We only did the sockets, you know, and the eyeballs, right? But you still have the ability to do that just by moving it as well. So let me go back to go do what I was trying to do before. So if you, when you modify these, like, you know, making things smaller, because if this is if we're going to do the head turn part, it should be going this way. This part will be a little bit smaller, right? And this setup that I'm doing here with the bones, you don't have to do this. This is actually for something else that I was kind of playing around with, but you don't need that many bones to kind of maneuver around it. If you want, you could just do, I don't know, 5. You don't need all of these extras if you're gonna move it that way. You can just kind of tuck this in, like so, right? Same thing kind of like here. Tuck that in. Now if you had this vector, if this is a PNG image, it's not a vector. So if you had a vector, you would be using the points, but we're not using any vectors. So you can use the points to kind of do the tuck this in as like a head turn. The only difference is I'm doing it with just these bones, like so, because it's a PNG, it's not a vector image that you would be able to, it doesn't have any points, so you can't modify it with points. Alright, so whatever changes that you're making here, so you'll have the capability of doing the bones, just like maneuvering them with the bones, right? You have the ability to do that with the action that we created, and then you can actually move the image by clicking on the layer and moving it that way. And then if it was vector, you would have to point. So you can mix and match those based on whatever you're trying to do with the character. For me, when I started messing around with the PNGs and not the vectors are cool, but a lot of times you'll have if you have a simple character, you don't want to be messing around with any points and all of that. You can test out bones to see how close you can get it to, you know, moving it. On this particular one, I would say that you could move, if you had more smaller bones, you could really tuck this in a lot easier than, you know, having this one long bone. You could track it and just have like little bones all lined up. So instead of this one big one, you can have like, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then you get to that point, and then, you know, smaller ones here. Because if we look how this smaller one kind of moves it a lot easier than this, you know, this big one. It's moving too much of the image, even though you can pull and tuck that down, right? It's moving too much. Now the other thing is, when we do have these bones, we can come in and we could make adjustments to the strength, right? So if I come back and I select one of these, I can bring the strength down. That may help as well. So if I go in here, see how the strength on the bones are, I think they're pretty high. We bring these down. Kind of hard to see, but with the green, but you'll bring these down based on how strong you want it, right? So maybe I want to bring this one a little bit down. Oh, it warped it. It warped his eye crazy, like. But you get the point. Like, you could. That looks crazy. You know, you could start to kind of play around with it to get it the way you want it. My poor character. And I'll probably come back and I fix a couple of things there. Now if you, so just like we see this, if I go back, and if I wanted to, you can come around and play with this and kind of fix it as needed. But I would recommend you know, just smaller bones, because when you do move this, you don't get that, like, that wrinkly effect. It'll pretty much stay shaped in the same way. So if you look at, you know, this bone here, you know, again, maybe line them all up to where, yeah, you have little ones. That'll be I think that'll be a lot better for this particular one. So even if I come here and you manipulate this, I would say if you want to do with the PNGs, you can just make it a lot smaller. So that you don't get this crazy movement. You know what? Let me go back here. And we're gonna clear all of this out. Yes. Okay, there we go. So I just basically cleaned out all that craziness that was happening there. So if I come back in here, and maybe if the strength of these bones were lower, it might help that as well. So let me come in here and see if we can lower some of these. And again, you can kind of play around with this until you get something you like. And this is not anything that is normal. This is just me playing around with things and seeing what works and not. This is not a technique or any this is not this is not sanctioned by any kind of law in any way. It's just me playing around with stuff. And I do that sometimes when I just open MOHO to try to see what will work, what won't work. Oh, let me do the hair for the person who's asking about the hair. Let me go. Where's the hair? There we go. There we go. Alright, so hair movement. Now, whenever you have, make sure these bones are attached to the, yeah, they are. to the hair. To the hair. The Red Queen. So whenever you come in here and you go to want to make some like modifications, and let me go in. There we go. Alright, so can't remember if I modified this one yet. I can't remember if I did. Alright, so let's go ahead and so if I come in here and I want to kind of make these wavy, so shift and I don't want constraints. And I go to bone dynamics. They have all of these different targets you can choose from, so it'll show all your bones there. And what you'll click here is down here, bone dynamics, in the wind, and torque and force, spring, damage force. So you can play around with these, the strength of these as well. So whenever you move those bones, so if you notice outside of our action, we get a little wind kind of going on there. 1 second. Make this smaller. And if you want to loop anything, you can come here and click Control, and then when you're on this this line here, you left click or right click. Left click is going to be the beginning of where you want it looped. Then the right click is where you want to end. So I want to stretch this time out and put it to here, so it'll loop between this green and then this red. So you'll just click Control, left click for the green, just make sure you're on this line, and then right click for the red. So it'll just loop from here to there. And let's see the wind for the hair. So that's basically the effect it'll give it, kind of blowing in the wind. It doesn't really work well with this because this is a PNG kind of thing, and then I need to modify the outside, but that's basically the way it would work, you know. And when you want to come back here, just remember to label all your bones so that you know which is which. Instead of B's, you should number them like hair bone or whatever. That'll kind of help you with that. And I think that's it. So the hair, I did the one about the wind and the hair. I did the making a new action. Which one am I did the which one was I missing? Oh, on the shadows, that's what it was. Alright, so whenever you want to have the any kind of glow effect, I export these as like a PNG. So if I wanted to create another, like just a blur like this here, you just have a shape, and then we have this here. So just create a shape, like circle, square, whatever you like, and then you'll just click the blur reflect, and then you'll bring this a little bit lower. This can be used for smoke, a lot of different things. So, but that's how I do the shadows and the shading as well. So like this red kind of tint here is that. So whenever I do, let's open up my, shut the other one off. Whenever I want to have that the glow effect, that's what I use. So if I would say, for instance, I wanted to do some smoke, and I can just make an S like that, and we wanted that to be white, right? And then blur. So if I wanted smoke kind of coming off of something, that's all I do. And in MOHO, you can have a mask, right? So for instance, if we want the smoke to seem like it's rising from this hole here, you'll be able to use a mask to hide where it begins and where it's coming from. So if this is, I don't know, the start, right? We would be able to mask a portion of this. So when this smoke comes out, right, it'll look like it's coming out of the hole and not just from the ground. It'll give the illusion like it's starting here, it's coming out there. So it's kind of like this. So the start, and then we want the smoke to kind of come out, it would basically be that effect, smoke coming out. But that's how basically, what is this? Can't remember. This helmet. Unlock some of these. And when you're playing around with it, in Inkscape, you can keep all of these pieces separate. And Some of them I locked because I was trying to mess around with something. And these are probably hard to see, but Inkscape, if you're using it, it does have a feature to make this larger. So if you do download Inkscape, Inkscape is free. And for me, it's the easier one to use for like vectors and tracing and all kinds of things. Most of the time I'm using it for like glow effects for the most part. Sure, these are all gone. Yep. So all the pieces I would separate. So if you have, if the character is not doing anything super crazy, I would just be able to modify the head, right? If that's all I wanted to kind of modify, without doing like a super rig for the whole character. So for this instance, I'm only going to be animating this particular character's head. So I don't need to can't remember. Won't matter because when I get into MOHO it'll line up. So I'm not doing a full rig. The only thing I'm going to be messing around here would be the eyes. And maybe the helmet a little bit. But other than that, I'm not gonna rig a whole all the body because it's a quick shot anyway. It's gonna drag across the side. Anyway, so yeah, you can. So if you're creating these, you know, you want smoke or the illusion of smoke, you can just do it that way, and then, you know, as dark or as bright as you want it, and just a blur. That's all it is. And you can make all kinds of, you know, you want to stretch. Say you wanted to, maybe it's a ray gun that you want to use. I think I should do that one for the ray gun. But basically what I do, so sometimes if the character's shooting like a space gun, I'll use the blur effect, like so, because it kind of looks like a, I don't know, lifesaver, but it also looks kind of like a ray gun. And what I do is I'll have this start from this point, and then once the gun fires, I just have this kind of push out, and then I dissolve it so it looked kind of like it's invisible, but for about a split second you'll see the whole beam, and then it'll just disappear. And what you can do here is, if this is the gun that you're shooting from, the only thing you need to do is just make a white kind of space like this. So that would be the, you know, the barrel, so to speak. And then if I come back, so that would be the barrel, and then when you shoot, just it doesn't come out that sloppy. It should go straight, but basically starting from here, and then it would just shoot out like so. I think that's all the questions. Which one?